Hello, Bears fans.
Hey, are you all ready to get this started?
Going live.
Listener discretion is advised.
Keep your head out there. They're going to do dumb. Play our game. All right? Play hard, but stay poised.
3, gonna be savage. 2, grab your shit. 1, do it.
Let's be great. Let's be great.
Pro Football, the Bears today released linebacker Pernell McPhee and safety Quintin Demps.
We hardly knew Demps. And heck, we hardly knew McPhee.
I mean, Demps was a captain.
No word yet on quarterback Mike Glennon.
No. They have until June 1st before he's owed more money.
Yeah, that'll be done sooner than that.
Alshon Jeffrey, a former teammate of yours, he, of course, said famously that we're going to win the Super Bowl, and then he went out and won the Super Bowl with another team. So that night, when they won the Super Bowl, the Eagles, you tweeted this. Guess I need to make a guarantee like Alshon. Well, Jordan, look where you are. You're on the set of Good Morning Football. I would like you to look and make a guarantee for this season for Jordan Howard, for the Bears, for whatever you want.
The Bears, we're definitely going to have a winning season. We're going to get to the playoffs, so I'm guaranteed we'll get to the playoffs.
Oh, I love it. All right, that's what I like to hear.
I love that.
Cheers, Bears fans!
Bears fans, this is BearsGrl Live with Draft Dr. Phil. You just heard audio from the news that the Bears released both linebacker Pernell McPhee and defensive back Quintin Demps today, as well as Jordan Howard's appearance on Good Morning Football. Man, was it a busy Bears news day. Thank you ESPN 1000, The Score Sports Radio, and NFL Network for all the audio clips. We have a very full hour for you talking about all things Bears, including the Combine that's just days away, free agency, and of course, the upcoming draft. But let's start this show like we do every week with your opening rant, Phil. Less than 24 hours ago, we had a completely different show planned for tonight, and we've been busy all day switching things around. With everything that's happened, where do you want to start, Doc?
Well, you gotta be versatile. In today's NFL, you gotta be able to take the ball, run pass options, all these fancy words still. It all boils down to lining up, delivering the blow, blocking and tackling. It always comes down to that, BG. And on this show, it's the same. You go to the tape. You go to the truth. You go to the guys that know, that don't use gut feelings. They actually use their brains. And you look at what transpired, and let's just like you said, I mean, football season just never ends. It's the greatest sport in the world. It is unbelievable how the tides of change and the fans sway their emotions with every player cut. And I've seen people on Twitter tonight from other teams talking about Pernell McPhee, giving them a possibility of a pass rush. Well, I got news for you very quickly. If you've been a Barfly and you're a loyal listener and you listen to our shows, you knew this was coming. In fact, we said McPhee was living on his last leg to the tune of Bon Jovi. Thinking about that. It's a done deal. You move on from him. You saw signs with him. I appreciate the football player, but a lot of bark, a lot of less bite, and that's where players' best ability is availability. He wasn't there. Demps came over, just like they said in the audio, was a captain, but you saw my boy, BG. The Wally Pipp story comes to mind. Adrian Amos took the NFL coaching and scouts by storm. Obviously, certain bloggers and fans haven't caught up to the tape yet, but clearly Demps was a move on. Now, I thought maybe you keep him on, and I questioned this, maybe because you saw what's transpired in Chicago so many times. The safety goes down, and you're bringing in Przinski and a Cameron Worrell, and the list goes on with guys that have played safety in games and cost games, really. Chris Conti comes to mind. So Demps maybe stays, doesn't goes. They're clearing cap, folks. They're getting ready to spend money. And that is where I roll my rant, because you know what? There's one thing to do, as I told Adam Hogue. You don't play games. You tag. You're it. It's time to control and keep your talent, your homegrown talent home. That's what this money needs to be. It's a wash, push to keep continuity. Don't create a hole. Kyle Fuller needs Ryan Pace. Needs to be a Chicago Bear. You don't make a hole. Real quick, look at the guy, Peterson. I talked about him. I compared the two. Who's better than Kyle Fuller that's going to come over to Chicago Bears and fill his place? You have the best on the market. You keep it. It's that simple. Money doesn't matter. You got plenty of money to spend. Stop playing that game. I'm glad Adam changed his tone a little bit after talking to the Dr. Phil, because it's the truth. I know what I'm talking. I've done this for so long. I love this team. I love football. If you can't hear it, turn the dial or unfollow. But I know the remedy. I know the prescription. That's why I'm the doctor to winning. And keeping Kyle Fuller is that. And really, in my rant, I can't go away from the truth. Ryan Pace, again, free agency, you've been striking out. In the draft, you've always been trading up. And today, of all days, bar room listeners, barflies out there around the world, worldwide, you go over to the YouTube channel, check out the desirables that I've been putting up for Bears Bar Room, breaking down draft choices. What other podcast website is doing podcasts, giving you stories and blogging stories and talking about the draft and giving you film anatomy, playbook analysis? That's what we're doing, bringing music and creativity. Go over there, and Ryan Pace, watch this young man rush the passer. I have a Chubb for Chubb, because there's nothing but love in this room. And when I watch the tape and I get excited, I'm fired up right now, because when I look at this football player, BG, let me bring you back. Ryan Pace trades up for Leonard Floyd. Ryan Pace trades up for Mitchell Trubisky. Before you say, no, Doc, no, we need draft picks. Elite talent you're paying for. Let's get it and grow it. What I see in Bradley Chubb is a polished elite pass rusher that gets home, that understands the physicality of sending a message to the offensive line as well as the quarterback on every single play. He has the motor of an undrafted free agent or a walk-on, a J.J. Watt, think of, that never stops moving to try to create a difference, hustling, not being a prima donna, not losing his technique, not understanding and losing his focus on where the launch point is of the quarterback. I was so excited watching every play of this football player that I'm looking for tape where he loafs and he doesn't. And he has technique, and he has the second step and the third step to the quarterback. This is like a young LT in so many skills. I told Aldo this is better than Garrett Miles. Garrett Miles might be a better athlete. This guy's a mean son of a bitch that's going to get to the quarterback. I'm trading up. I'm making a difference on this football team, because that is the biggest hole, folks. That is clear to me. You could talk wide receiver all day. Pass rush is clear. McPhee is gone. Now, let's turn one last page and talk about who you all know I love with my heart and soul. I call him the beast, the filthy animal, like Home Alone. This kid, Jordan Howard, goes on national. Where's this personality been? Local media taking shots at him today. Jordan Howard is free of the goblin that was Coach Fox. he now has a voice, and he's using it to not only put his stamp on the playoffs. He took his playoff flag. He ran over to Lambeau Field, stopped by Minnesota, checked to see if Aldo dropped the roof, and slammed his flag into the 50-yard line and says, we're going to the playoffs. We're winning this division. He's taking his shot. He's sending the tone. Normally you don't want players. I can hear Shane Marceau in my ear somewhere on his way to Albany listening to the show. Phil, you don't like to give billboard locker room material. Well, I like this. Your hardest worker, your best player, the team defenses are planning and game planning to stop, is opening up his mouth, and he's walking the walk because that's all he's ever done. So now he's talking the talk. Now we're talking about a recipe of success. The Matt Nagy train has landed, BG, and Jordan Howard, let me tell you, is excited.
Well, I'm pretty annoyed that I miss seeing him live on Good Morning Football. I try to watch it a couple of times a week, and I got a news alert that he had been on and sent it to you guys. And what I loved about his interview was him talking about the fact that we have plenty of money and the need for wide receivers. So let's listen to what he had to say.
What do you want to see Chicago do? I know that players give the politically correct answer. Hey, I just put on the jersey. I'm glad I don't have to make decisions. But what do you think you guys should do in free agency?
We got to go after some receivers. Most of our receivers, they're free agents right now, so we definitely got to get some receivers in to help Mitch. I feel like that's the part that's going to complete us because we got the run game down, but now we just got to get the passing game going. I feel like that'll take us over the top.
I like that. You guys were the leading receivers one game. Yeah. I think you and Tarik Cohen.
Mm-hmm. And we got a lot of money, too. So.
Yeah. Okay, talk about it.
We got a lot of money.
Now, last year, I remember Jameis Winston proactively recruited Deshaun Jackson when he was a free agent. Have you called any of these free agent receivers and just said, hey, I'm not the guy deciding, but you might want to consider what we have here in Chicago?
I'll probably leave that up to Mitch. He's probably the one who's
Trubisky,
really
huh?
Yeah, he's probably really the one who's going to want to hit those guys up.
So I think it's clear that everyone knows Howard is one of your top 10 Bears. He's definitely on my list, too. Who rounds out the other 9 Bears that you absolutely are in love with for 2018?
Well, when I analyze this roster, I do it fairly and only in regards to the tape. Reputation nationally means absolutely nothing. If you're going to give the truth, if you're going to be an analyst, let me give you some advice. Leave your heart at the door. My heart for Jordan Howard is because of what the tape says. It's not because of what Jordan says. In fact, I've never heard him speak so much. It's enlightening that he's so confident. And he's right, BG, before I get into this. Mitchell needs to recruit these guys. I'm going to continue running against 8 and 9 in the box if I have to. But Mitchell needs to go out there, and let's be honest, he has to be very excited that Nagy is going to take the governor and the restraints off the offense where it's going to open up, and he's going to be that much better. And you notice that little comment in there? I was thinking of David Kaplan. He's like, well, one game you and Tarik Cohen led all the receivers. No, he can't catch, David. He can't. But he does on tape. But, oh, God. Anyway, but when you look at this roster, obviously, realistically, every defensive coordinator is going out of their way to stop Jordan Howard. He is on the top. We've discussed him endlessly this offseason. But once again, shout out to you, Jordan Howard, for being Draft Dr. Phil's #1 player on the roster right now. So all the players that haven't hit free agency are eligible to be on this top 10 list that I'm giving you here. And number 2 is number 96, totally ripped off, totally cheated, completely overlooked for what he actually does on game days. Now, being completely honest, Akeem, I've caught a couple plays where you're loafing and you could give better than you did. That's just honesty. But when you do give, it's Thanksgiving dinner every time. And he's splitting double teams. He's going after triple teams. I mean, he is a tone setter up front with a large personality. Everything you want in a football player, he has. This young man, the sky's the limit, and he's the perfect fit in what Vic Fangio wants to do. He's my number 2. Number 3.
He's also got a Canadian connection, Phil. We can't forget that.
Oh, Canadian bacon, pancakes, number
Absolutely.
1.
Yeah, he played out in Saskatchewan. It's important.
Well, shout out to Canada as always. Number 3, not Canadian, is Cody Whitehair. Now, people get all upset. They get amped up. I'm just telling you what it is on the real. It is not Magoo's world. It's Dr. Phil's. This kid, the sky's the limit. We talked about it last week on 100 Proof with Adam Hogue. We had a great football conversation. If you haven't heard that, obviously 100 Proof is going to be coming out on Thursday this week. So you have time tomorrow to go back, listen to that if you haven't heard it. We talked about Cody Whitehair's best position. Clearly, it was center for me. Adam backed that up. Former All-Pro center, Hall of Fame nominee Olin Kreutz slammed the table as well. It's very clear and evident. I think that Olin Kreutz, Harry Heiston connection, obviously they speak. If you past coaches and former players have special relationships, I don't think Olin would have came out and said anything if there was any kind of move for Cody Whitehair. And honestly, I spent nights, BG, praying on that. Really, honestly, please keep him at center. Again, the prescription, it clearly states this guy, number 3, at center. Then number 4, Bear, is Adrian Amos, the strong safety, can play free safety, putting labels on these guys, intermingling. He clearly is an alley football player. What a season he had on tape for Bears Barroom. I've got my hands in so many projects. Aldo's running me ragged here. We got to do all these desirables, and I'm making music, and we're doing all this stuff for the Bears fan. My next big project, much like Mr. Underappreciated, is part 2, and that's going to be our number 4 player, Adrian Amos. Absolutely stunner of how overlooked. I just think the Chicago reporters are so uncoachable in regards to the philosophy of football. It just baffles my mind, the lack of appreciation for players given the situations that they were placed in. And Adrian Amos should be applauded for being benched and overlooked after having a rookie year and all these defensive coordinators switch. And then he comes out and plays the way he did. It's tremendous season. And my number 4. My number 5 is the rookie from North Carolina, Mitchell Trubisky. Again, he's the Crossroad Project. I'm going to do a Mitchell Trubisky film. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, as Aldo would say. I'm going to bring Mitchell Trubisky into perspective because let me tell you something. As a rookie, the tape doesn't lie. The scoreboards and the stats sometimes can because there's 2 sides to the football. Mitchell can't play defense, although some Bear fans think he could. The story is different when it comes to the tape and the improvement, the accuracy, the athleticism, the governors, the stupidity by the offensive coordinator. I'm going to bring the curtain back and show you just how happy and excited you should be with a new head coach with his hands on this talent. It's exciting to see. My number 6 player, going to be a free agent. Put the tag. You know who he is. It's Kyle Fuller, number 23. Best corner on the market. You can control him. You don't play games and let other teams take away something that ultimately you know is a known commodity. And that is where the difference is. Kyle Fuller, you're my number 6 player on the whole roster. Really bounce back season. I don't worry about past What have you done for me now? We punish players for being injured, Kevin White. We punish players for dropping the football, Josh Bellamy. We punish players for not being able to be consistent. Mr. Kyle Fuller came back, proved everybody wrong, and busted his hump. He deserves this positioning, and he deserves to be a Bear and get a long-term deal. My number 7 player is Danny Trevathan. The inside backer really, honestly, shocked me at how well he played this season. Physical, flowing to the football, being aggressive. We talked about during the season the suspension play and how I just totally knew it was an aggressive. It wasn't on purpose. I didn't think it should have been a suspension. It should have been a fine. That left a blemish on his season. Yes, he got hurt, came back. Then he got suspended, came back, played like a guy with his hair on fire. One of the best played games at the inside backer since Urlacher. It's really important that you see this football player for what he is. Number 7 on my top 10. Number 8 is the rookie out of NCAA&T. Now, are we seeing a trend here? Ryan Pace hitting top 10s on the roster here with Mitchell Trubisky, Adrian Amos, Cody Whitehair, Jordan Howard. These are all drafted players now. Tarik Cohen adds to the list of players. Tarik Cohen is explosive. I talked about it right after the draft. Aldo put together this video, me analyzing Tarik Cohen, what he could be. I'm sorry, in the window, you were completely wrong. In the house, in the office, you're completely correct. Tarik Cohen is something special. He's a game breaker. He's somebody that's going to get the football and take it at the defense. Even Mighty Mouse is not afraid. Tarik Cohen isn't. He's our Mighty Mouse. He's not afraid. He will put his face in there and continue to battle. He shocks safeties and linebackers with his explosiveness like a Mike Tyson punch. That explosive in short quarters is this young man. That's why he's such a weapon and something that we are going to be excited for with Coach Matt Nagy. Number 8, Tarik Cohen. Number 9, Shane's boy from FSU coming into Chicago. Eddie Goldman, nose guard, underappreciated completely. There seems to be a running theme there about these players, but really watching the tape, when this guy's healthy, he is a force to be reckoned with. He makes and forces double teams that makes Akeem Hicks that much better, and the whole defense, including especially Unrein, was really rewarded with what the offensive line was doing. And I know PFF is giving him great stats, but let's look at Akeem Hicks and Eddie Goldman getting doubled and freeing him up. You better win. You better make the play. And that's the whole philosophy of the defense. So Eddie Goldman, my number 9 player, absolutely love him. My number 10 player, and really I cheated the system because it's a tie here. Eddie Jackson, 10. Listen, a running theme here. Matt Miller had all these executives ready to fire Ryan Pace. Ryan Pace is hitting top 10 players on your roster. Number 10, Eddie Jackson of Alabama. How thick is the rod in his leg? I'll tell you how thick he is. He comes up, fills the alley, scoops and scores, attacks the football. We love this football player on tape. The new Bonnie and Clyde in the back end of the defense is there. You got Adrian Amos at number 4 and Eddie Jackson at number 10. This is trending upwards for this roster, and I'm excited about it. And then I'm going to give 10B. And I only do this because I know the value of this football player, and it wasn't seen thoroughly. And that's Kyle Long, the captain, injured. But really, when you watched him come in and give his heart and soul and try to move that offensive line and do the things that he normally does while he's playing injured. Obviously, 3 surgery, neck, shoulder, back. The kid is out there giving his heart and soul. Anybody questioning his toughness, his character, or anything like that really need to take a step back and recognize the kind of talent. If Kyle's healthy, he could be in the top 2. That's how talented he is. The sky's the limit for this football player, and I'm excited to see what he's going to bring under Coach Harry Highstand, because Highstand is going to follow the Coughlin philosophy. You do what's best for us, because us is going to help you be the best that you can be. And that's what I hope to see from Kyle Long and this roster. So, BG, that's my top 10 Bears right now as we move into the offseason. Hopefully, we don't lose our number 6 there in Kyle Fuller and Ryan Pace tries to gamble.
So the chat room is pretty much in agreement with you, except Airjar says, I love Cohen, but not top 10 for me. Gotta prove it to me one more time.
Well,
you say anything about that?
I can understand his thinking, but for me, weighing in the scale of stupidity by an offensive coordinator, giving his poker hand, saying basically he's getting double teamed. He should have had a parade that you had a chess piece that could actually be something to fake defenses out. Instead, Dowell stupidity held back Jordan Howard. It held back Trubisky. And let me tell you something. It held back to Tarik Cohen. Mind you, punt return for a touchdown, rushing for a touchdown, reception for a touchdown, and also threw a pass for a touchdown. The explosiveness is there, Airjar. I know what the future holds. I'm going to be this new psychic. I have a gut feeling that Tarik Cohen is going to be a perfect fit with Matt Nagy. But honestly, I just see the chess piece. I look at this roster, and there's no way Tarik Cohen isn't a top chess piece of this roster. So that's why he's there. And he's number 8 because I recognize how explosive he is in the run game, in the return game, in the slot reception game, and the third down back game. I think one other point, BG. On third downs, Benny Cunningham, I want to know the numbers. I know Frankie Chachi has the numbers probably, or Trey Busy, or one of these guys are going to pull the numbers. How many snaps did Benny Cunningham absolutely steal from Tarik Cohen on third down? It was inexcusable. It's unbelievable that it transpired, and it really took away opportunities for this offense, this quarterback, as well as Tarik Cohen.
So one name came up in the chat room, and you know how I feel about him. You didn't mention him, though. Glennon.
Mike Glennon, I'm shocked that this football player is still on the roster. Are they trying to pull a Lauren Cox and steal a pick from Arizona in the 6th? I don't care. I'd rather not have the pick. I just want to see the balloon and the baton and everything else passed on, because Mike Glennon was what I thought he was. I'm Denny Green now all of a sudden. Aldo's cracking up somewhere having a beer. Mike Glennon, you are who we thought you were, and we got to let you off the Bears hook. And we knew that after the first preseason game, and that is the truth. I don't know anybody that Glennon isn't even the top 53. I think the only person I'd take Glennon over is Mike Burton, and that is my honest truth.
So I need to explain the balloon now to everyone. Thanks for letting that out of the bag, Phil. We've decided to show how much we're going to miss Glennon here at the bar room. So I will be releasing from Canada a very special custom-made giraffe balloon the day it's announced that he's been cut, so we can all watch him just float away. Stay tuned, everyone, for that video.
That is going to be... I'm marking it down, an instant classic. I know the movie trailer on 100 Proof has become a barfly underground smash. That is the Wu-Tang Clan of movie trailers. I think the balloon release of Glennon is going to be at least my personal favorite moment of 2018.
Yeah, Goodbye Glennon coming to a theater near you. All right, Phil, other Barflies told us what they wanted us to cover tonight when we asked them on Twitter, and most were about the free agency and the draft. So let's start with some questions from them. You ready?
Go ahead.
So John Santucci at Santucci_John said, what are the Bears' position needs in order of urgency going into free agency and the draft?
Well, I led off the show. Chubb for Chubb. You got to talk about pass rusher. You know, it's going to clear the path. How they attack this. He's clearing money. You got to spend, okay? Don't listen to any of these phony bloggers talking about value and worry and doubt. The formula hasn't worked for the Bears. We haven't been in the playoffs. You haven't won the division. I still remember this to my day. John Madden saying there's hundreds of ways to the playoffs. Just hope you choose the right way. I'm choosing on spending for known talent and understanding what you need in your roster. That's how you do it. Yes, Pace has fumbled, but Pace has also been very conservative with the checkbook and conservative with his approach to free agency. Fortunately, you landed your franchise quarterback. Now it's time to address pass rusher and wide receiver. Obviously, number 3 is the cornerback position because Kyle Fuller, you tag Fuller, you control him. You just washed Fuller's tag by sitting Demps, McPhee, and the other cut you had. I can't remember who the other one was. Sitting, there was another one. Oh, Jarrell Freeman. Now, someone add up those dollars and see if it's a complete wash. And then you play the game. You haven't even cut Glennon yet. So there's more money coming your way. Stop worrying about money. Worry about talent. That's my lesson to you. It hasn't worked when you're worried about money. Andy Danahy, the Bears blog, and these guys talking about value and the cap. The cap has never gone down. It's never gone down in my lifetime. I'm 44 years old. I've never seen it drop. My whole existence in free agency, I've seen many manipulations of the cap. I've seen us have very close to the cap and be able to sign a Reuben Brown and go to the Super Bowl on a weird late cut by the Buffalo Bills. There's always ways to sign players. Now is the time. You got to be aggressive. You got to hit. If you're going to attack Ansah, you go get him. Are you going to attack? Is DeMarcus Lawrence going to hit free agency? You go get him. You go after pass rushers. Then you don't have to trade draft quota to get up and get a Chubb. You let the draft go to you. Everything should be about getting the best players, not the value. Value hasn't won Aaron Lemming an award. Value hasn't won David Hall an award. Value has not won the Chicago Bears anything. They haven't won. You want to win? You got to get talent. You got to draft well on top of it. The sauce is the draft. John Santucci is Italian. You drop the olive oil in, the garlic, and the onions. You chop them all up. That's the basis. That's the draft. Free agency is the tomatoes. You gotta have both to make the sauce. You want to win? That's the sauce. I know Tarik's always talking about sauce. I'm going to talk about sauce. I'm Italian. This is how you got to be aggressive. You got to identify the talent. And yeah, you are going to find value later. I'm talking about Julius Peppers. Get him. Remember those days? You're on the cusp of the championship. That's where you need to go. So to answer thoroughly and emphatically, pass rusher number 1, wide receiver number 2, corner number 3. That's how I see the needs. And then you're going to go backup quarterback, fullback, a tight end is going to be brought in. All these things are going to be hit, but those top 3 are the key ingredients to open up the top of that draft.
So Chris Armstrong at Chris Armstrong 1 had this question for you. Would you spend a 6th rounder on Auburn's kicker, Daniel Carlson?
I'm not a big draft a kicker guy. In fact, I don't know what it is, but I'm infatuated with one kicker in the draft, and it's not the Auburn kid, although the kid from Auburn is tremendous. I love the kid from Georgia with the glasses and the whole persona. He just doesn't miss. Every critical kick, it's going down the center stripe. Kevin Butler, I know, is coaching him out there. Have that kind of connection there, match up things. If I was going to pick a kicker in the draft, it would be in the 7th round. 6th rounder, we took O'Donnell. You know how that's going. We're going to have to get a punter and a kicker in here. I like Nugent. I liked what he did. I just like the guy. We'll see how they go. Are they going to bring back Cairo Santos like the smartest man said? I'm fine with that, but get your kicker addressed. I'm not a big pick a kicker in the draft guy. If I would, I could see me taking a 6th round pick on the kid from Georgia.
So one of the hottest topics on Bears Barroom Twitter this week was Quintin Nelson. Another question from John Santucci came through and said, if he's not there at 8 when the Bears pick, who do you then prescribe for the Bears?
It's so hard to answer these hypotheticals. I know everybody wants to have fun and you want to guess, and we're going to do some fun things at Bears Barroom. We're going to have some contests. I know Aldo's going to get into that, probably get into that tomorrow, but mock drafts are a fun exercise and everything, but really ultimately I pride myself on giving you the truth. So right now I'd just be guessing for you, but if it was me, you'd have to give me how it went, and then I'll give you a straight answer. So if they want to do that, and I can answer that tomorrow. You give me the Quintin Nelson went this, the 5th spot, and this one went there, and then I'll tell you who I'm going to pick. But I love players that are there based on where we are in the draft. And if you're following Bears Barroom and you haven't gone over to the page at bearsbarroom.com and see my desirables, I'm putting guys in the first wave of videos that I believe are going to be in the conversation at number 8. That is what this process is. I'm thinking as Bears GM. And go over there, check those out, and let me know what you think of them. Follow, subscribe, give us a little review. We take a lot of man hours to put together this creativity for the fan. The appreciation and the DMs that I've received this week have been very touching and heartwarming. That's why I do it, honestly. And for, obviously the Bears Barroom team, but you guys are the most important because you guys are the ones watching this and commenting and bringing it to other outlets and informing yourselves on the truth. That's really what we're trying to do here. So I would love to answer that, but I just don't. The question isn't, I don't want to guess.
So Dan Walker snuck in with a question just before we went to air at DWP, and he said, is the first, second, and next year's first picks too much to trade up to number 1?
So he's saying the first this year, our second this year, next year's first?
Yep.
Say it again.
Is the first, second, and next year's first picks too much to trade up to number 1?
Trade up to the number 1 overall pick.
That's his hypothetical question.
Well, I'm trading up to that pick to get Chubb. That's what you're doing. And for me, you look at pass rushers. I mean, how much is J.J. Watt worth? That's the kind of... He looks like a polished pass rusher in the NFL who gets it. Again, I don't throw out comments and commentary to get eyebrows raised or to make people talk like a David Kaplan. Shane knows that. I mean, I'm a confident guy. I'm going to give you my truth. My truth isn't to try to shock you. My truth is I think I would do it for this football player. Yeah, it's a great question because he's that much of a difference maker to your football team. Just picture Leonard Floyd on one side coming back. This guy is the opposite of what Floyd is. He's polished. He plays angry and his hair on fire every single snap. And he's absolutely phenomenal with his hands. It's a graduate master's class of watching someone use their hands. And he's a finisher. He's got that same thing I talked about Tarik Cohen with. That Mike Tyson punch explosion. At the moment you're getting to the quarterback, he punishes them. But in the rules, I'm just saying, he lets his presence known. I think pass rushers are 1B to the quarterback. So for me, I know that's got Shane all in a tizzy probably somewhere. That's a lot of draft capital. Listen, I have a first-round pick next year. I'm not giving that up. I'm giving up my second next year. I'm giving my first and second. I'm guaranteeing an elite rusher with a possible good to great rusher. I don't know. Leonard Floyd was having the greatest game I saw him play when he got injured. You all know I just keep it real. There's no personal. I want everybody, blue, orange, and white jerseys to be successful. Leonard Floyd needs this guy. He needs someone opposite him that can draw attention and help him get soloed up. That's going to make this whole football team better. Pass rusher is key and critical. It's the number one need. Why not fill it with the best? And honestly, he's better than Garrett. Myles Garrett was last year, who went first overall. That's in my tape study. I'm absolutely ecstatic about this football player.
So let's talk free agency. We got a couple of questions from Barflies on that. Trey at Henderson says, do you think Pace will try to sign Jimmy Graham of the Seahawks since we need another pass-catching tight end to go with Shaheen?
If he had heard Bears 100 Proof, he would have known that was Shane Marshall, the smartest man in the bar room, and my bear down free agent. Because we were concerned that Ryan Pace's affiliation and connections to this young man were going to elicit a contract and a conversation that it's almost like a given. You could feel it in the waters and the tides. Tomorrow, Aaron Lemming's going to have a gut feeling about it. That's how much it's going to have. So I'm looking at this, and I think tight end is going to be in the equation. I think Daniel Brown is being overlooked on this roster. I want to talk about him this offseason. I like so much that he brings to the table. If you don't know, I think Adam Shaheen is going to be a star. I really do believe that. I think I see what a natural transition. Listen, I was a huge George Kittle fan. Anyone who knows me or follows me knows I was just pounding the table for that kid out of Iowa. Had a tremendous year with San Francisco. There's certain things I like to see. Kittle has it. I saw it transitioning into Shaheen. Again, blaming coaches is not pointing fingers and falsifying any kind of document here. This isn't a presidency. This is the NFL. I'm looking at what transpired and how personnel was used over the course of 3 years. And it wasn't used right. And Shaheen suffered for that. And so did Daniel Brown and many others. Jordan Howard, Cam Meredith. So many players have suffered because of personnel usage with these guys. And Shaheen is one of them. So I look at somebody, Deion Sims didn't set the tone and set the edge like he wanted him to come in here and be that great blocker. We talked about it. Ian Rappaport sent out a tweet earlier talking about the value in the draft isn't with the blocking tight end. I think the Bears are going to look at somebody like that. They had a contract offer on the table for Virgil Green. Ian Rappaport put him in the tweet saying how much value they'll have on the open market because of the tight end market being so lack of talent, as well as the draft. So look at that name right there. Circle that name. Virgil Green could be a Chicago Bear because I know where there was smoke before, there is going to be fire this offseason. So he's somebody that I could see coming over here. And I'm not going to say that Jimmy Graham isn't going to be here because I feel like there's something in the water to that too. It's just I don't agree with the Jimmy Graham signing because I just think he's reached that limit where his consistency and what he did best, unless he just completely goes into full-on training mode and gets his mind right. I just saw lacks of confidence, lacks of concentration, and just not dominating where he should dominate. He just seemed to hit that wall. And I'm afraid that where Ryan Pace has spent on players that have been injured and this kid's had concussions, that ultimately come here. You spend money and you want to see the availability. Unfortunately, that might not be. So that's where I weighed on the side of caution with this football player, and definitely think the tight end is going to be addressed. I personally don't want to see Graham, but I could totally see it happening.
So let's talk about some other news that made its way across Twitter today. Just 6 days ago, we talked about Landry being off the table for the Bears as he had just been franchise tagged by the Dolphins under a contract estimated at about $16 million. And today, according to ESPN Adam Schefter, the team will meet with Landry's agent on Wednesday to discuss a possible trade. What the heck is going on over in Miami, and do you see Pace being interested in this offer?
I definitely think there's going to be interest there. I don't know what the value of what is being asked in the trade. What are they asking? What is it going to cost? You're not going to mortgage your draft on signing this football player and trading for him when it's clear that Miami is tagging to trade. And I'm going to tell you that's what we talked about with Adam Hogue about business and football, understanding that you have a value chip. You tag it, and if you know you're going to move on, you look for people that are going to trade, and then you're going to take the highest bidder, obviously. And hopefully you do well by the player, but ultimately this is a business. This is a game that you're trying to better your own team. So they're going to look for the most capital they can gain for it. And how expensive is that going to be? For me, I love the football player. I've gone on the record. It's the perfect fit. He separates. He does everything I want a receiver to do. I don't agree with a lot of the naysayers about this football player. I've seen him do it over and over and over and over and over again on tape that I believe he will fit here. Now, I know the system calls for quickness and agility and speed and all those adjectives defining what they believe is right. But guys that get open can play in any system. I'll say it again. Guys that get open can play in any system. Guys that get open and play, and guys that get open and catch everything can play in any system. And that's what Landry is. He gets open. He catches in traffic. He continuously does it. He's got tremendous concentration, and he can make the big play despite his timed 40 speed. You know how I feel about that. This is a football player. This is a gamer. This is somebody that you really got to take a plan to. Are you going to offer up something? Could it be a next year's second-round pick that you've given up? You got to look at that because he's quite the talent, and it would be amazing to get that young man in there into the Chicago Bears. He's definitely, clearly, they're doing the business thing and the smart thing in Miami by not losing out on their homegrown talent and trying to get something from him because they're clearly looking to move on from him, but get something in return. And I'd be definitely on the phone with them talking about what's it going to take, in all honesty, and make a deal.
The chat room is not agreeing with you at all. Trey93 says Jarvis Landry is a poor man's Daniel Braverman.
Oh, jeez. That's terrible. Number one, we talk about coaches here. You can't define anybody. Let's see a career with an opportunity before we start downgrading Daniel Braverman. Let him be with the Chiefs and see what an Andy Reid does. Then we'll see what those stories are. Wes Welker got cut. Danny Amendola didn't get a chance, got cut. This has happened so many times. Steve Largent, Hall of Famer. It happened so many times. You can't define people on those things. And Jarvis Landry is a polished route runner. There's no comparison right now. He's not glorified anything. In fact, he's somebody who checks the boxes on the tape and checks the boxes on the stats for the stat scouts. So he's everybody's All-American. And I would never speak up for anybody if I didn't think that. I think he would be the perfect fit here. totally disagree.
Something tells me we're going to be talking about Landry again next week. Other news coming out of the NFC North was that Case Keenum is expected to be a free agent after the Vikings are reported as not placing a franchise tag valued at over $20 million on him. Currently, the Vikings don't have a starting QB on their roster. What does this mean for the Bears in our division?
Well, it means the Minnesota Vikings are all in on trying to get Kirk Cousins, like we talked about in the Bears Barroom Creative. A couple of guys in the league have told me that's their focus, and that's how they're going to run with this. And then it's going to go down to Nick Foles and then Case Keenum. However they're going to do it, it means another change for Minnesota, another story of what it is they have at the quarterback and how they're going to attack people with their great defense, and hope it's beneficial to the Bears because you want to keep continuity and you don't know what's going to happen there, but it clearly is a message to Case Keenum that, hey, you had a great year, you got us far, but not far enough, and we're going to move on from you. And ultimately, could that bite the Minnesota Vikings right in the ass? I'm betting on yes. And unfortunately for them, and fortunately for Bears fans, that position being out of order is one with which they've traded so much draft ammunition in the past for Sam Bradford to get up to get Teddy Bridgewater. What are they going to do again? Are they going to try to draft another one? It's going to be interesting to watch. And it's funny how these Vikings fans were so high on Teddy and chanting his name. Where's Teddy in this equation? Is he going to come back and sign back as an afterthought, a backup, or is he going to move on? That's going to be interesting to watch too. And ultimately, it's beneficial to the NFC North, the whole. The Vikings being down is going to help. They won the division. Now the Packers and the Bears and the Lions, and a rekindling and a reshuffling could transpire, and I'm fully believing in that. That's good for the Bears.
All right, Phil, let's switch over to your draft, Dr. Phil's desirables, because as you mentioned earlier, it might be the off-season, but the Raw Room is never closed. You let us know about your Chubb for Bradley Chubb, but tell us about who you're working on for the next couple of releases this week.
Well, I have every day this week, I'm going to give you somebody new. On deck for tomorrow, I got to tell you, this football player really impressed me. A few people asked me privately to do a little film work on him, and I'm not a big, we need a corner in this draft, but Denzel Ward is somebody who's very physical, more physical than I thought he was when watching his tape. He really is not afraid to put his face in there. So a lot of the things I praise Kyle Fuller about, this kid is offering on tape, granted on the college level, but in a real look at him under the microscope, you see all of the traits that you want to see in a corner. I was very impressed with him. So that's going to come out tomorrow. Wednesday, I'm bringing out from Alabama, the safety, Minkah Fitzpatrick. I know Frankie Myers had asked me. I know Shane Marsaw is a big Alabama Crimson Tide fan. I know a lot of other Barflies have asked about Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's been really not talked about much by the Bears community, but when you watch this kind of athlete, and I don't want to ruin anything, but I really comp him, and I know there's mixed feelings on him, but he really does remind me of a Troy Polamalu, how he gets from point A to point B and uses his knack, his instinctive knack to put himself in the right position. It's going to be interesting to see him on tape. And then I'm going to bring out another Crimson Tide. Obviously, this guy's been mocked to us. There's no denying the talent of Calvin Ridley. That tape's going to come out on Thursday, and then I'm going to finish up the week on Friday with the receiver Kirk out of Texas A&M. Wow. This is a deep draft with wide receivers, and Ridley and Kirk really excite me. You know how I feel about James Washington. I've done his tape. If you haven't seen, go over to the desirables. James Washington, the perfect fit in the Nagy offense. You're going to look at these two receivers as well. You can make arguments for them, and I wanted to put them up there because they're definitely in the conversation. I don't worry about where you pick someone. If you have your rankings and you feel in your heart of hearts that that's the guy for you, that's the guy for you. Same thing he did with Trubisky. Felt it in his gut. He did it for Floyd. I wasn't a big Floyd guy. Everyone knows that. But he had conviction, and I respect that. That's how I believe the draft is played. So wherever these guys are going to be taken or stolen, or there's going to be value or whatever, I'm going to put them up there. Big need for the Bears. Number 2 need in my book is wide receiver. So I'm going to do some heavy lifting on the wide receiver this week, and Ridley and Kirk to end off the week.
All right, Phil. So our chat room is always on fire, and tonight we had some really hot comments. Here's what some of the Barflies had to say. Crank Fan is back in the chat room, and he says that he just found us this year and wondered if we had a YouTube channel, and Bob Phelan stepped up and let him know that we have YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Aldo said that Shane had an interview. Shane apparently is at an interview with ESPN, and Air said he is way too talented for ESPN. Phelan added that he would love to see Shane smack the shit out of Stephen A. Bearded Bears fan would like to see Leno step up and solidify the LT position.
Yeah,
John
you gotta.
He was very active today, and he said, if you get Nelson at 8, Key is good. Get in the second, but Sam Hubbard is more a solid edge player.
Oh boy, here we go.
The Y Baby 54 says, who will be our starting wide receivers?
Oh, that's a question for someone's gut, because right now my gut feeling is I have no clue. I honestly don't, but I know Cam Meredith is going to be in the mix. Other than that, your guess is as good as mine. In fact, I was looking at the roster today to do my official rankings, and there's a wide receiver I didn't even know we had on the roster from Cincinnati, former Cincinnati Bearcat. Kid, 6 foot, almost 6'5". He's like 6'4", talented kid. You never know. When the lights go on, who's going to step up? That's going to be it. But clearly it's a huge need. So Ryan Pace is going to answer that. Because if he goes out opening night of free agent, he gets your boy Wilson over in Kansas City. And there's no trade with Landry. You know Wilson's starting, Meredith's starting, and it could be a draft pick that starts. And you know Tarik Cohen's going to take shots in there. So there's a little bit of... There's some sprinkles on the sundae, but we haven't gotten the ice cream yet when it comes to that answer.
So AirJair54 had to get in on your top 10 and said that Prince Akumamara is in his top 10. Crank Fan said, regarding my balloon, I should save the helium and let Phil take hits and do the show in a mouse voice.
That would be 100 proof.
That would definitely be 100 proof. Regarding trading Glennon, John Santucci said no team wants a quarterback whose best skill is tripping over his gigantic feet. Aldo said the only reason to trade Glennon is if your cherry picker broke so you can put a camera on top of his head for the all 22s. And Source Egg is breaking news here tonight, letting us know Chicago Bears have traded Mike Glennon to a zoo for an animal to be named later. That animal gives reach around without scratching the shaft. That's from a Deep Insider.
Deep Insider.
Friendly reminder that Bears 100 Proof will be out on Thursday this week, and you don't want to miss it. And if you don't follow BHL on Twitter, why not? You can find us at Bears Hour Live and show us some love. Make sure you stop by the website, bearsbarroom.com. That's where you can go, Crank Fan, where Kyle Popovich continues his series on potential free agents with a look at Malcolm Butler from the Patriots. Thank you to everyone listening in and interacting with us tonight. We love connecting with you every single week. That wraps up this edition of Bears Hour Live, and we will see you all next week when Draft Dr. Phil will release a brand new theme song.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be fun, BG. The new theme song.
I haven't even heard it yet.
It's going to be hot. I'm excited about this song because it really captures our relationship on Bears Hour Live and our relationship with the Barflies and the energy of this show every Monday night at 10, 9 Central. I'm proud of it. I can't wait till it's done. I'm still working on it. So I just wanted to shout out Van's Tap, the bar in Chicago, 84th and Kedzie. Huge followers and supporters of Bears Barroom. Go down there, tell them you're a Barfly, that you're a Bears Barroom loyalist, and I'm sure they're going to hook you up with a couple free ones. So tell them Draft Dr. Phil sent you, and shout out to them down there. Thank you for all your support at the Bears Barroom.
AirJared54 wants me to remind you that I kill you in a specific episode of 100 Proof. Just saying.
I will never forget.
Neither will I.
It's in the song.
Oh, great.
No, it's not. It's not. Peace.
And Aldo wants us to say